Good morning and good evening, everyone. It's Chris Pellegrini here with Shochu'sday again, number 57. I've got a special guest, and this is one of our return our what's the word alumni. I guess you're one of the original alumni of Shochu'sday, Paul Nakayama of Nankai Group in California, importing a couple of very special expressions of Kokuto shochu. Paul, how you doing?
Doing great, Christopher. Thanks for inviting me again.
No,
Really good to be here.
thanks for joining. And it's gotten to the point where it's Stephen and I every week. Last summer when you appeared, we were trying to do special guest and then normal duo and then special guest. So you're like a special guest with a few weeks of clearance on either side of you. So I'm sure the people in the around the world, YouTube, Facebook, they're like, oh wow, we actually get a new voice in here. I'm sure everybody's gonna be very excited, and already we got some comments going on. So how are you? How are you doing? 2021. How is it? How are things?
It's interesting. It's weird being back. It's weird being around people, but in a nice way.
Okay.
I was just in Vegas, which was interesting too. It was pretty, hyper populated, like almost like Tokyo, and so it was kind of
Ah,
weird,
it's
but in a great
busy.
way. Yeah, busy. We're getting back out there and doing our events again, so it's nice.
That must be amazing to to be face to face with people again, and to be
It
able
is,
to
yeah.
pour drinks for people and talk to them about Nankai and educate them about Kokuto Shochu. That must be a lovely, lovely breath of fresh air.
It is, yeah. I mean, thank you and Steven for being the voices that you guys are and educating people, because it definitely is tough. I mean, talking about shochu in general and then kind of diving deeper into Kokuto shochu and stuff, and depending on the venue that we're at, we might not even mention shochu just because it's too much information at one point. And so
Ah,
we'll start with, like a koji spirit or the Japanese style of fermenting or distilling, and then just kind of go from there. But when we have an audience like yours that kind of knows what's up, then we kind of dive deeper and it's kind of fun. So yeah,
that's really interesting. So the the expression koji spirit, the word koji, how much do you feel that resonates today? Has it gotten better? Are people actually recognizing that word?
I think if you have a group that's aware of sake, and they're drinkers, they'll know koji. But if you're talking to predominantly vodka or whiskey crowd that have never heard of shochu or even drink that much sake beyond kind of hot sake at a sushi restaurant, then explaining koji can get a little weird because you start with the fact that it's a mold, and all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, mold," you know.
Yeah.
But then when you talk about what's actually used for, then I think people are a little bit more intrigued.
Yep, I understand the challenges and have seen them myself. Well, this is great. Let's get right into it with the booze news, and I think this would be a good chance for you to reintroduce the Show Tuesday crowd to Nankai Group, what you're doing, what your goals are, where you are, and how they can find your drinks. Please go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Christopher. So I'm Paul Nakayama. I am the co-founder of Nankai Group, along with my wife, Mai. About 7 years ago now. Jeez, yeah, about 7 years ago, my wife and I got married, and we went to Amami Island and discovered Kokuto Shochu, and was just kind of blown away. And after visiting distilleries and just drinking a bunch of Kokuto Shochu, on the flight home, we kind of couldn't stop thinking about it and decided to bring it in ourselves. And we ended up launching our own brands. We've got essentially two. We've got the 24% Nankai Shochu, twinsies.
Yep.
Uh, and then we also got the barrel aged, higher proof Nankai Gold.
Nankai Gold. Yep.
Yeah. And then both of these just won some nice awards from the spirits business. This one won gold, and then this one won a master award, which is pretty cool.
And that's kind of that's a habitual thing for these brands. Am I right? They win a lot of
Yeah,
awards.
yeah, it's kind of interesting. I was just listening to your latest podcast, right, about Kokuto Shochu, and you're mentioning that sometimes it might be a good thing to decant. And I kind of agree with you because, depending on where you're at, the conditions of the place you're at, how long the bottle's been wherever, sometimes it's nice to kind of open the bottle up and let it breathe prior to tasting. And with competitions, you never know how they're gonna store the product, how they're gonna
True.
serve it, and so it's an interesting range of awards that we win. Sometimes we win the top tier awards, and sometimes we win like a silver, and so it's always interesting to
Hmm.
see like how people react to the product. But I found generally that people that like whiskey tend to like the barrel aged version. And
Absolutely.
then and then we're based in California, in Los Angeles. We're available in both North and South California, Hawaii, Nevada, and then a lot of our retail partners will ship across the U.S. If the state allows it. So yeah, the U.S. is really interesting for shipping alcohol. It's just all over
Oh,
the place, as you all know,
understatement.
as you all know now.
Understatement
Yeah.
of the year, yeah. I mean, one of both of our favorite accounts in Oakland,
Oh
Umami
yes,
Mart,
umami
they have a
mart.
list of states that they cannot legally ship to. And unfortunately, my home state, Vermont, is one of the maybe 5 states that they can't ship to. But yeah, America, with its alcohol laws, is a crazy place. It's like 50 different countries
It
almost.
really is. Yeah. Makes it very difficult for reporting and accounting, and I can see why there's so many companies out there providing that service. I spend a good amount of time at the desk just reporting our sales and movements. So it's kind of yeah,
Ugh.
it's tough, but at the same
Ugh.
time, we love shochu. We want to introduce more people to shochu, and I think it's a great opportunity right now to take the interest that people have in Japanese spirits and expand that to shochu.
Yeah, I think I absolutely agree. And speaking of expanding interest in shochu, you mentioned before you were just in Nevada. What was that trip for?
So we recently switched distributors to a boutique distributor through a friend of ours. His name's Aaron. He's a sake-sam and a friend of shochu. I think he's
Nice.
traveled to Japan quite a few times to visit distilleries and such. And so he's our main contact out there. And I was just out there to kind of talk to the staff and to some influencers about shochu and
Cool.
getting ready to move it out there. Yeah.
Excellent. So, are we? I mean, I've never been to Las Vegas before, but are we talking about accounts right on the strip, or
Yeah, it's
what's
kind of
the goal here?
everything. Um, So Nevada, unlike California or New York, you need a full liquor license to serve shochu. You know,
Okay.
uh, in California, New York, all you need is a beer or wine license to serve shochu in a restaurant or a bar. But in Nevada, you need a full license. Thankfully, not as expensive as LA or New York for those licenses, but it requires that. And so, you really need to kind of approach the restaurant or bar that's okay with serving lower ABV spirits but at the same prices. So yeah, it's a little bit of education, talking about the nuances of shochu and why a lower ABV shochu is still a great product to serve to your customers.
How? What's your approach when you're going towards a bar, an on-premise account? Who, I mean, obviously you want to get it on the menu. You want to get Nankai mentioned on the menu. What's the
Yeah,
best conduit for that? What's the best approach? They're not
that's
serving it by the glass, are they? They're not just doing pours on the rocks, is that, or are they?
some places are. I mean, there's
Okay,
places like Tsunami Panhandle in California and in San Francisco that serves right by the glass,
fantastic place. Yeah,
and
yeah.
love it when there are places that do that. But yeah, if it's a place that doesn't really focus on shochu or know much about shochu, then it's usually in the form of a cocktail or a highball. The dominance of ready to drink seltzers out there like High Claw or White Claw and Truly, I
Right.
think have made people more open to the idea of carbonated ready to drink drinks. And so if you talk about highballs, right, the original highball and then the shochu version, I think is of a great way of introducing to people. Once they
Yeah,
try it, yeah, it's a cleaner White Claw. So
a cleaner White Claw, less
yeah.
cloyingly sweet, right? Is what I understand about those. I actually haven't had one. I just haven't been back to the states for a few minutes. But it seems like the highball is going to be an easy way to transmit shochu culture,
Yeah.
and absolutely it's going to work with both of your products. I mean, 100%. If you with how's it work with the gold?
We actually do a highball with the gold as well. It's kind of a decadent version, of course,
It
but
is, isn't it?
but there are places that do it, and it's nice because it really does kind of open up the more floral or the aromatic side of the shochu as opposed to, focusing on the finish. Um, but yeah, I think the great thing about shochu is that because it's single distilled, and exactly what it's made from. There are no additives to shochu besides what the fermentation ingredients, the yeast, the
Water and
water,
time.
you know,
Water and time. Those
water
are
and
the
time. Yeah.
additives.
I think that transparency is really important to people that care about what they drink and put in their body.
Absolutely. I mean, I never lead with this, but it's always fun to come around to the fact that Honkaku Shochu is pretty much one of the lowest calorie spirits in the world, and that's across the board. There's no residual sugars.
Yeah.
Even though this is made from Kokuto sugar, there's no residual sugar because of distillation. And yes, it is a single pot distillation, meaning it when you open this up, you don't even have to get too close to it. Oh, it smells like Kokuto.
Yeah,
Lovely.
that's right. Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that too, because we always do talk about the fact that it's sugar free and carb free, especially in California, because people really do care about that stuff.
Yeah.
But then they look at me suspiciously, like they're like, "Didn't you say it was made from sugar? Why is it sugar free?" And so then I have to go into the whole
Got you.
distillation thing, and if that doesn't work, I just say it's sorcery.
It's science. You just have to trust it. Um, I I think you can't lead with the whole health benefit. People don't drink for their health, obviously, but when you bring it in after they've already taken a sip, they're like, oh, geez, that's kind of good. Oh, and by the way, it's a good left hook after you've set them up with the jab. So
It's funny because so when we're talking to people about why drink shochu, like why drink shochu instead of vodka, or why drink shochu instead of soju, or all these questions do come up, and at some point the health benefits become a tipping point because they need that reason to pay a little bit more than their usual vodka, and so then you
yeah,
start talking about the lower calories or the
that's
fact that
interesting.
it's single distilled and it's more flavorful, or there's a lot of different ways to approach it, but it definitely makes a difference.
That's very interesting, and I think that the whole idea of it being made by smaller companies and being made in smaller batches and being made with a lot more attention to detail, I think that'll resonate with a large cross section of the drinking classes. And I think we're getting quite a bit of action in the comments right now. So let me throw one up here that's germane to what we were just talking about. This is from Maya. She's in
Hmm.
Kagoshima, and she's asking about liquor licenses. Is there no benefit to having 24% versus 25% in Nevada, Las Vegas?
That is
Um,
correct. Yeah. In fact, I believe 20% was the threshold for Nevada. And so I believe there are a few shochus out there that have a 20% version.
sure. Okay.
I think maybe Ichigo has one, and what else have I seen with one? But yeah, 20% is kind of the threshold, which does fit a lot of sojus, right?
It
Sojus
certainly
are,
does. Well, not the
yeah,
modern ones in Korea, which are all in the 16s these days. But yeah,
right.
you're right. Some of the new age artisanal sojus that have popped up recently, those sometimes are in the 20 to 23 range even. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, to answer Maya's question, yeah, 20% is generally the threshold. So it doesn't matter if it's 24, 25. It's the same difference to Nevada.
Thank you for that. Okay, let's get into we're gonna take this towards cocktails. And you seem to I've seen you send us some great imagery, and I'm obscenely jealous of how good your cocktail imagery is. We at Honkaku Spirits we're still trying to figure out that little thing, the lighting, getting the somebody who knows how to set the scene. Do you do those by yourself, or do you have?
No, that's 100% my wife, Mai. Uh,
Oh, they're amazing photos.
yeah,
Just
she's
beautiful cocktail
awesome at it. I
photography.
mean, you know, it kind of makes me mad because she's one of those people that whatever she tries, she's kind of good at it. You know, but yeah, she does all of our photography, and you can see the evolution in our Instagram feed of her skill, kind of building there. And yeah, she's always experimenting, figuring out different lighting methods and setups. So yeah,
Yeah,
thank
man.
you so
That I
much.
mean, the light, especially just getting the light right, getting natural light, getting it backlit sometimes, and that's not easy. It takes a lot of thought, a lot of time,
It's
and
especially impressive considering the fact that thank God photos don't have an audio component because the whole time that she's taking these photos, you can hear our kids crying.
and she's cursing like a sailor.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of good photography. It's very clear that Nankai is cocktail friendly, and so I think we should take it in that direction. So if you can kind of walk us through some of your favorites, just tell us what you think really works for Nankai, and of course I think we're going to be. Tell me if I'm wrong. We're going to be focusing on this bottle. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, if time allows, I wanted to make one of each.
Oh, okay, great. Then I'm
Yeah,
gonna shut up, and you can just take it away.
yeah, okay. So I'll make some cocktails for you guys. But before I start, I wanted to kind of just talk about the fact that shochu is really great. I think for cocktails, particularly Kokuto shochu is great. I think the black sugar component really does add um, an amplification of flavors for particularly for citrus and umami based flavors. Um, so I see some comments here about let's see, what was it? Nankai and tonic.
Let me throw that one up here. This is yes,
Yeah.
Nankai tonic, orange, peach, nectarine, and sugar.
So with Nankai and quite a few other Kokuto shochus, I think using a 2-to-1 ratio of mixer to spirit almost always works. You just can't go wrong with it. And the thing that we always think about for our cocktails is we always want to balance a little bit of sweet with a little bit of acid for all the classic cocktails. And so, for example, with Anagman's question,
I guess. Yeah.
we would probably take, let's see, a little bit of Nankai, maybe muddle the peach, add a little bit of orange, a little bit of sugar, and then I would actually add a little bit of lime just to kind of open that up a little bit, and then you'll have a nice little tiki type drink.
Nice.
Yeah, and then or if you want to keep things simple, you can just do Nankai, 2 ounces, 4 ounces of tonic, and then maybe just squeeze a little bit of the orange in there for the essence, and you'll have a nice drink, I think. Today, for Nankai Shochu, because it is summer, it's getting humid out there, I was going to make our newest drink called the Mango Colada. So that's going to be essentially Nankai Shochu, some coconut milk. Sorry, the lighting makes it hard to see.
Coconut milk.
A little bit of mango juice or mango nectar, and some simple syrup. So I'll build it here and show you what it looks like in the end. So first we get some, oops, a little bit of ice. All right, so we're gonna pour 2 ounces of Nankai Shochu. We're gonna do 1 ounce of coconut milk.
Okay.
And about half an ounce of simple syrup. What's great about shochu in general too is you don't have to use a lot of sugar. Typically, you use less sugar than other cocktails just because it's just not needed. It's really well balanced to begin with. So add that, and then we're going to add about 3 ounces of mango juice.
Nice.
If you have fresh mangoes, you can muddle them up and have an especially refreshing drink. And then you're going to add some ice cubes to the shaker. All right. Shake it up.
This is
Make
a
sure to hide your
first on
belly
Show
because when you're
Tuesday.
shaking, yeah, you're
Jiggles.
yeah, jiggles.
First cocktail ever made live on Show Tuesday. This is nice. It's
The first of
amazing.
many, I hope.
I hope so too. It's amazing that it took us till the 57th episode to do so.
And then just take a glass, and then you can just pour the whole thing in there. And then there you have it. You have the mango colada, and it's got a nice kind of yellow tint, nice and creamy and frothy.
Oh wow.
It's really good. Yeah, the mango and the coconut are a match made in heaven. And then just a little bit of simple syrup is enough to kind of activate. And if you want to add lime too, you can add lime, but it's optional. Keep things simple.
It sounds like a really nice summer sipper. Pretty light. What's the ABV on that going to be? Basically, you had what, 2 ounces of Nankai?
2 ounces to about, what was it? 4 ounces or so or 4.5 ounces. So it's going to be about close
Under
to 15.
10. Oh, is it going to be under
10,
15?
10. Yeah, about 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not going to bowl you over. It'll be down in the single digits, likely.
That's right. Yeah, most of our cocktails for the regular Nankai Shochu are between 9 to 15 ABV.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
We'll do some martinis and gimlets that are about 15%. The highballs are about 9%.
got it.
Yeah, it's all about the
good level.
the volume.
enough to keep you happy. We just had somebody chime in here. This is somebody we know. Ian said sup, and Ian works for us, an account that we already mentioned, one of our favorite shops in the world. It's in Oakland. It's called Amami Mart. Can you tell us about what Amami Mart can do with Nankai products?
Yeah, I mean, we've done some cocktail events at Umami Mart. They've got an awesome bar there. The most popular, aside from our highball, right, which is just simply soda water and lemon with a Nankai, another popular one is what we call the Yuzu Pop. And it's just basically 4 ounces of ginger ale, 2 ounces of Nankai, and then a splash of yuzu juice. And it's just fantastic.
Yeah. And yeah, they have a great education set up at Umami Mart. So if you just get on their newsletter, I would say is one of the most important things that people can do. And you can shop there and they ship, as we said before. So even if you're not in California, you do have access to Nankai and Nankai Gold. They can get it to you unless you live in Vermont, of course.
Yeah, and the great thing is they have all of the cocktail gear too from Japan. So they've got awesome shakers, glasses, mixing ware. It's awesome.
They do. It's a beautiful. Everything they do is very considered and gorgeous. So it's well worth your time. You'll if you go once, if you actually make it to the store in person, it will not be a one. You'll not only go there one time. It's kind of like Japan. You never visit Japan once. You're always coming back, right?
It's so true. I mean, every time I go there for a sales call, I end up on the negative side of things because I end up buying glasses and bowls, whatever.
They get you. They will get you. They have taught me so much just from their newsletter and from their social media posts about the amazing vessels that come out of Japan. Some of the coffee cups they source. I'm like, where can I get those? I'm gonna re-import those to Japan because I can't get them here, and they have them. So really, really cool place, Umami Mart. Can't say enough good things about them. And,
yeah, for sure.
And
glassware, man. It's addicting. We're buying so much glassware all the time now. We don't have space for it, but it's getting fun. I see a question that says, can you substitute Nankai for rum in a mojito recipe? And you absolutely can. We do that all the time. And it's a lower ABV mojito, but it's very nice. The lime and the mint work really well with Nankai. Very easy to make too, so it's hard to screw up.
Do you think? I mean, one thing that often comes up when you talk to a lot of bartenders. What's the approach with a lower ABV spirit? Is there an adjustment that happens with the mixers and the other components in the drink? Do you need to dial other things down, or what's the general approach?
That's a great question. When we first launched, a lot of bartenders really did have trouble working with Nankai. It is, a little bit more expensive than your typical mixer or base spirit.
Right.
It's easy to kind of overpower it with different flavors. So I think eventually we figured it out that if you're going for a cocktail with Nankai, if you do 2 parts mixer to 1 part spirit, you can kind of keep the balance going. The exception to that rule that I've found so far is when you're working with different Amaris. So if you do an Amari, you can do a 1-to-1,
Huh.
uh, and it's a beautiful drink. So people love Negronis in the U.S. now.
Sure.
A very simple Negroni-like drink would be taking like an Amaro Nonino or an Amaro Montenegro, 1 part to 1 part Nankai, and just garnish it with an orange peel or add some bitters, and you've got a fantastic sipper all night long.
Ooh, that
Yeah.
sounds amazing.
Yeah, I don't know if you're into Amaris out there, but I would definitely recommend making that
I
product.
am. I cannot get my hand on a wide variety of them, but that's interesting. I'm gonna replay this and go back to what you just said and try that out. That sounds awesome.
For sure.
Very cool. So we still have time if you want to do something with the gold.
Yeah, let's do it. So our most popular drink with the gold is America's favorite whiskey cocktail, the Old
Oh,
Fashioned,
okay.
and
This
we
is
call it
gonna
the
be
Gold
fun.
Fashioned.
The
Nice
gold
little pun
fashioned.
there. Yeah. So
Nice.
with the Gold Fashioned, exactly. Yeah. If you have a sugar cube, you can take a sugar cube. It's basically 1 teaspoon. I don't have a sugar cube with me, but what I'll do is I'll just add about 1 teaspoon's worth of simple syrup
Okay.
into a mixing glass. That's about right. And then we'll take some Angostura bitters, aromatic bitters, and do about 3 dashes. And then we'll add about 2 ounces. You can go as high as 3 ounces of Nankai Gold.
Nice. Okay.
And then we'll add some ice. And just stir that up. I'm just going to add a little bit more bitters because I went heavy on the gold, as usual.
Adult pour.
Take a rocks glass, add a nice cube,
Oh, that is a nice.
and yeah, and then just pour it in there.
Gold fashioned.
And then if you have oranges, you can just take a little bit of peel. Be careful when you do that because I've often cut myself.
Yeah, I can relate.
And then just express that over the glass. And then you have it. You have a gold fashioned.
Gold fashioned. Man, that sounds amazing.
And that's good. Yeah, it's nice because with Kokuto Shochu, you kind of get a little bit of the Arabica rum flavors to it, but it's also got a lot of the Japanese whiskey profiles too. So you get that green apple, you get that caramel.
Yeah,
Then when you have the bitters in there, it's a nice mix. I definitely recommend trying that.
that sounds amazing. I am definitely going to try the gold fashioned. I have, yeah, I have about a half a bottle left. You're right. It is a bit of a decadent pour, because it's definitely not the cheapest Kokuto shochu on the market. It's you got good things are expensive basically.
Yeah,
Is what
yeah. It's not an
how this works.
everyday or
Special
it's not gonna be 10
occasional.
drinks a night. But if you want that nice little nightcap, yeah, it's definitely a good one.
Well, when on a day when you need to elevate the old fashioned to the gold fashioned, if it's that type of day, then there you go, Nankai Gold for the win. We got another question from
Yeah.
Anagman. Would you recommend keeping the bottle of Kokuto Shochu Nankai bottle in the freezer for cold cocktails, or does it not matter if I have an ice shaker,
Oh, that's
ice
a good question.
and a shaker?
So when we're talking about shaking a cocktail, it's typically if it's something that you want to disrupt, like you want to spread out the lemon and or lime oils and juices. If you want to get that nice foamy cocktail going, then you want the
Uh huh.
shaker. If it's a simple cocktail like a highball or a chili mango, which is basically just mango juice and nankai with some tahini salt, you can just stir it with ice. You don't need to shake it. I don't necessarily recommend keeping the Nankai bottle in the freezer unless you want to do like chilled shots. Um, because if you keep it in there long enough, it will get slushy because it does.
Huh.
It's not quite gonna freeze, but it'll get a little bit slushy, and it's not quite the same. So I would definitely recommend using ice instead of freezing it.
Well, then you could jack it though. You could jack the Nankai. You could scrape off the ice and then
Yeah,
kind
I
of
mean,
and concentrate the alcohol a little bit. But that would probably remove a little bit of flavor as well. So
it will. Yeah, I think when you freeze, it tends to mute the flavors a little bit,
gotcha.
whereas the ice is a nice. It's the right amount of disruption.
Got it. Okay,
Yeah.
that's good guidance there. I think.
However, if you do want to do something fun, you can make your own sorbet with nankai. So you can have a boozy sorbet because it does freeze. So you can make like a Thai iced tea sorbet or granita. You can make a yuzu version. All you need is a little bit of heavy cream and yuzu and nankai, and there you go.
What's So it sounds like you've got a ton of experience now with the cocktail vehicle for Nankai. What are some places, some bars or restaurants that you feel are doing an exceptional job with Nankai in their cocktail program?
Oh, interesting. It's kind of hard to say because everything's been shut down for a
Ah,
while.
fair enough. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. But there are quite a few mixologists that have been, kind enough to experiment with Nankai and put us on the menu. Um, you know, there is a really interesting um, chef, or I guess we call him a culinary cocktail mixologist named Matthew Biancanello, and he does really cool things with our stuff, infusions and really interesting cocktails. And he was kind enough to donate a cocktail omakase for four, and to donate all that money towards Stop Asian Hate. Unfortunately, during the pandemic, we were seeing a lot of anti-Asian violence and discrimination out here, and so we wanted to run a charity event for that, and he donated his time to make some really cool Nankai cocktails. And then we'll be posting the photos from that later on this year. But yeah,
Nice.
it's just there's some really great cocktail or I'm sorry, bartenders in L.A., San Francisco, San Diego, Hawaii that we work with. Too many to mention and name here, but yeah,
Okay.
pretty much. If you see Naka on the menu, please give it a shot because I think it's always well thought out.
Absolutely. What now? Shochu in Japan, of course, is almost always consumed with food. Maybe that's. I don't know if that's too strong of a statement. It really is a spirit that is consumed alongside snacks, a meal, whatever. One of my favorite snacks in the whole wide world is that the kokuto with the peanuts and other nuts, where it's
Oh
kind of
yeah,
kind of caked on there that you can get in Amami. That stuff is so good. They should just. You want people to come back to Japan, just hand that out at the airport as a parting gift, But it's so good with food. And in your experience with Nankai, what are some easy pairings, do you think, in terms of snacks, or even if you want to go into a full meal, that's cool too. But when
that's
you're
a great
drinking
question.
Nankai, what do you want to be munching on?
So the traditional kind of pairings are like yakitori or fried foods, right?
Uh huh.
Those are the traditional pairings with kokuto. Um, I tried one in izakaya in Berkeley, California, called Ippuku, where they did um, a bacon wrapped brie cheese that was grilled,
Okay.
and that all kind of just melted together. And then following that, you drink it with Nankai Gold, and it's
Oh,
ridiculous.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I probably had too many of those that night.
Oh, that's not well. That yeah, no, I would probably dive right into that too.
Yeah.
Cheese. I often when I
Yeah.
think of Kokuto shochu, I just think cheese fondue. I just think the dark sugar and the cheese umami and match made in heaven. So I can see that. I could see pasta with a cream sauce on it going pretty well with Kokuto as well.
Yeah. Actually, I recommend anything with tomatoes too.
Oh,
The umami and tomatoes is a match made in heaven with Nankai for sure. We actually have a cocktail called a margarita pizza, which is basically tomatoes muddled with basil
basil.
and lemon and a
Okay.
little bit of simple syrup, and it was actually the first cocktail I made for my wife when we first started dating because we were so nervous to hang out with each other. We drank we drank about maybe 10 of those. So yeah, it's tomatoes. Tomatoes are a great pairing, is what I
No
meant to
kidding.
say.
For first time I've thought about that. That's very cool. The the shochu and food side by side, is that something that you feel has traction in the states, or do you feel like it's still a ways off? Is it still people eat first and drink second, or is there a conversation that can be had these days about, okay, maybe I know wine is the typical accompaniment to a meal, but what about something a little different? Is that
Yeah,
possible?
I think so. I mean, we've done quite a few cocktail pairing events, and people are pleasantly surprised at how well shochu can go with food. Most people consider wine or sake the go-to for pairing, but just as like just like people are doing beer pairings with food, I think if you find the right combination, it's going to really elevate both flavors. Um, and I think the fact that shochu uses koji really lends itself well to pairing with food because you've got nature's MSG right there.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, yeah, exactly. It's a flavor enhancer.
Hmm. I was
Koji is.
curious, have you found any food pairings with takamine?
Takamine, that's a great question. I haven't personally, only because I only have a single bottle of it, and I'm scared to use it. So I haven't really used. I mean, I still have about 2/3 of the bottle left. I'm so scared to use it because I'm not sure when I'll be able to get my hands on another bottle. That said, I do know that people have mostly been enjoying it at home, and I've seen it alongside a whole bunch of different stuff. I assume that it's being consumed together, but I'm not entirely sure. Everything from I saw a phenomenal chef salad, and then I've seen people drinking it with bubbles, so they're going for the decadent highball, and that's been alongside a lot of foods and a lot of kind of appetizers. So seems like it's a pre-meal endeavor, and then somebody this is not this is a little bit insider, but my cousin was drinking it with pizza and said it was pretty phenomenal. I was like, oh, okay,
You
great.
know, I
Personally, I
think
haven't had
pizza's
a
great
chance
for
to
shochu.
experiment. What's that?
Pizza's definitely great for shochu too
Oh
because it's
yeah, yeah,
got so
yeah.
many components.
Yep, yep, absolutely. Well, let's move in. This has been awesome and instructional in a way that has we've not really had a chance to enjoy on Show Tuesday. So thank you very much for that. And I think we'll move off into the final segment. How we normally do this on Show Tuesday is we talk about the newly opened bottles. And I don't know. Do you have anything that you've been sipping on recently, or anything that has come to your attention?
Yeah, I mean, I try to drink a different shochu as much as possible, so I'll pick up bottles when I see them. Most recently, I opened a dayame from Hamada Shuzo.
Oh,
The
okay, that's available in the states now.
No, I had a sample, so I just opened it
I
up
got you.
finally and enjoyed that one.
Okay,
I heard
I'm
it's
sure
coming
that
though.
I'm sure it's on its way. Yeah,
Yeah,
really
absolutely
fruity sweet
delicious.
potato, right?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean the description to me was that it's gonna be lychee, and it was. I mean, it was just strong lychee on the nose and taste. So yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, I also, of course, shout out to Mizu Shochu, based in New York and New Jersey. I was drinking their lemongrass shochu the
Uh
other
huh.
day. That's
Okay.
also fantastic.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
How about yourself? What have you opened recently?
I just cracked it. I wish it was Kokuto, but I killed all the bottles. So I'm gonna talk about a Kastori Shochu,
Oh,
and this is Shigemasu. Shigemasu is made by Takahashi Shoten, which is in Fukuoka Prefecture, and Kastori Shochu is made from the sake lees, or the lees that are left over after the sake pressing process, and it happens to be a Daiginjo sake made from Yamada Nishiki, so it's got some pretty good. Uh, its stat sheet, its spec sheet is pretty stellar,
wow.
and it's this is only 25%, but the aromas off of this bad boy are off the charts, and it's very difficult to get because you can only get so much alcohol from sake lees. It's not like they're just awash in alcohol. They actually restart the fermentation with the lees to get it re-going. And there's very little of it made. Very little of it leaves Fukuoka. I had to order this online in order to get a bottle of it up here in Tokyo, and I'm very glad
Wow.
I did because it's gorgeous.
I was telling my wife before, but if there was ever a zombie apocalypse in Japan, for example, your alcohol closet would be the place to stay.
Booze closet. It's been upgraded. You might notice. Steven likes to say it's a booze pantry now. It does feel like a booze pantry. But yeah, I mean, I've got. You can't see right now, but one of those old metal racks, or the one that was there previously, has moved here, right in front of me, and it's all the way up to the ceiling. I should probably. I need to have a photo that I can put over so that you can see it. It's got a good. Just eyeballing it, it's probably got 130 or 140 different brands on it from floor to
Wow.
ceiling. So yeah, there's plenty. We could go for a good couple of weeks here before we had to go face the zombies. And at that point, we'd be so alcohol fueled that they probably wouldn't even smell us anymore.
Yeah, it's true. I was going back to something we talked about earlier, with 2020, did you find yourself drinking more or less?
That's a good question. I guess I'd have to say it was more. It was harder for me to do the Kyukambi, which is the dry liver day, and it was purely because of the nature of how time zones work. I was constantly finishing my workday with the Honkaku Spirits team on the East Coast of the United States. I was finishing up at like 3 a.m. or 3:30, and at that point I was just like, all right, it's time to start the decompression process. Hopefully get to bed by 4. I just needed to have a drink, and so I was going fewer days without that one drink, the nightcap.
Yep.
So I guess you could say in terms of calendar, I was probably drinking more. In terms of volume, I don't think there was an increase, and in fact, there may have been a decrease just because I was so stressed out and I didn't have time between meetings or anything. I was just all zooming all the time. So
Totally.
I
Yeah.
don't know. How about you? How did you feel it worked for you?
I think initially we drank more,
Yeah,
and
April,
at weird
May.
hours,
Yeah,
just because we lost all sense of time. But eventually, after the first few months, kind of evened out and just drank less and less. Maybe a couple times a week max, and definitely lower volume,
yeah.
especially because the kids are always home.
Sure. I think that's the key. I've realized for myself at least that and I no disrespect to people who take entire months off or entire seasons off or like I'm not drinking until my birthday, that sort of thing. I have a lot of respect for that, but I also think that maybe a little life hack is to just reduce the volume overall, and rather than drinking on fewer days, just overall drink less in terms
Yep.
of and then go ahead and space it out. It's fine. Just don't overtax your liver at any one point. That's my personal approach, and I am not a doctor. Many people can attest to that, so don't take it from me. And then also just drink tons of water, water, water,
Yeah.
water. Yeah,
Highballs are the way to go.
highballs are great. Yeah, I mean Japanese shochu and awamori culture is to mix it with something, whether it's water, whether it's sparkling, and now cocktails. So yeah, do
Yeah, I
what they
mean
do.
it's smart because when I was younger, we'd go out and have a drink or a couple of drinks, and the rule was, oh, don't forget to drink water while you're drinking. But Japanese drinking culture kind of eliminates that thinking process and just makes drinks with water already to begin with. So you're set.
Yeah. I mean, if you're drinking a typical mizuwari or a typical oyuwari, it's nearly 50-50 water to spirit. So you're getting equal parts, which is not normal, I guess, for other drinking traditions. You would have to make a concerted effort to get the H2O in there. Yeah.
Sure.
Good. Do it like the Japanese. They live forever. It's good. they know it. They know what's going on. Just on a closing note, if you want more information about Nankai, where can people find you?
The easiest place to find where we're sold or where we're available is nankaishochu.com. We've got a little store finder thing there. And of course, our Instagram, Nankai Shochu Official, is where we post a lot of our cocktail photos and new recipes. So if you're into making cocktails, please come join us there.
Definitely. Love following you guys on Instagram. I think that's a very, very good value. So definitely hit the follow button there, everybody. And just from the Japan Distilled side, I'd like to say that if you want more information about Kokuto Shochu, if you're new to the subcategory, we did just release the Kokuto Shochu Japan Distilled episode over on japandistilled.com. And if you're the podcast type or you just want to hear more of Stephen and my voices, even when it's not Tuesday night in the States, then go ahead and download that and listen to what we have to say about just the general stuff. Stephen does a very good overview historically of the who, what, where, when, why, and how. And we also give a bit more information about the way that these drinks are made. If you watch this episode and then you listen to that Japan Distilled episode, you've got a pretty solid foundation for the possibilities, I think. So, yeah. And then hit us both up. Paul is on Twitter, I believe, right? Because I've been tagging somebody called Nankai Shochu. And very much so on Instagram is your main thing, probably?
It is, yeah. And Facebook.
Okay. And Facebook. And we're both very ready to have that conversation about these drinks online as well. So hit us up. Anyway, we're at the 48, almost 47-minute mark. This has been a very good one. One of the best ones this year, I have to say, and just in terms of how useful it's going to be to people who are getting into shochu and are interested in Kokuto shochu in particular. Nankai products, they are moving. They're finding new territory. If your local shop doesn't have them yet, ask about it. They will source what they can sell. So, yeah, tell them. Oh, I just heard about Nankai Kokuto shochu. Get them interested in it. Get them to ask their distributor for it, and then good things can happen. They definitely can. So
thank you very much. So yeah, we'd appreciate it. We're trying to introduce more people to it. So it's definitely our dream. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. So everybody out there, if you have a drink, hopefully I've been drinking coffee. Paul's had a couple of sips of a couple of cocktails.
I'm double fisting, yeah.
Unendingly envious right now. But to everybody out there, thank you once again for joining us, and we'll be back again next week with episode 58. Until that time, from both Paul and myself, Paul in California, myself in Tokyo, Japan, a very hearty and heartfelt kanpai.
Kanpai.